Never Stop Candy Bang is a frequently occurring creative chat with family, friends, and industry artists about storytelling, music, sound, and vision by Pete Candeland and Sophie Sound. In this episode, Sophie goes in depth about her sound creations and how sound has led her towards an epiphany for her own creativity.
Hi guys, we're back with a new episode of Never Stop,
Candy Bang.
a creative chat we have with family, our friends, and industry artists about
Storytelling, music, sound, and vision by me, Pete Candeland.
and moi, Sophie Sound.
So today's episode is about the storytelling and idea of Sophie's pseudonym. We've been debating how to pronounce that word.
Because in German it's pseudonym.
Pseudonym. Sophie Sound, and where and how that began.
Yep.
So the origin of Sophie Sound started with your idea for sound articles, right?
Yes, sound articles. Just to tell the location we're at, we're still in Mexico City because it's going to be
Because
a
you
bit
could
of a-
probably hear the birds outside.
Yes, maybe there's
Is that what you're
some...
thinking?
Fierro Viejo, that's the name. Fierro Viejo.
Okay.
Now you?
Refrigerators.
Ferrero Rocher.
Refrigerators and microwaves.
Okay, well, that's that.
We've covered it.
We've covered the whole thing.
So let's talk a little bit about the sound article thing.
Yeah.
Because you have told me about that in the past, and I love the idea so much and the way that it developed into your storytelling world and stuff.
I think it's quite interesting to for myself even to go back to really think about how it came to this point, because it started with the sound articles, correct?
Yeah.
Because I had Never Stop, Never Stopping, like NSNS as the magazine.
Yeah.
And I started it and did it.
Hence the first half of the name of this podcast, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Correct.
Tick.
Yeah. And I rewired my brain into sound instead of music, like electronic music, and being involved into that community.
Yeah.
The moment I stepped out of university, obviously I picked up all the things that I stopped for that period. And then, I had the idea of sound articles because I love the writing part of, like, I just love writing.
Yeah.
And then I thought, how do I add the sound bit to it? And I created this word called sound articles because I was in Mexico City right after my studies. And of course, the first thing I did day in, day out was record everything. So I recorded
The sound of the city.
the sound of the city everywhere, everything. And then I was like, hey, why don't I just do sound articles and write a little bit of a story?
Yeah.
And then do interviews with people and wrap it all together. But I think I didn't really have the plan yet if it's going to be a podcast or how am I going to do that. So it just stayed with that idea.
And it was all like audio stuff, right? It was telling stories with sound,
Yeah.
with also an interview with somebody that you admired and wanted to talk to
Yeah.
and hear from them and stuff like that.
There was this one test I did with an art studio here in Mexico City. So I recorded a lot. And then what I've been doing is like I assembled the recordings that I made and I kind of put them into a Dolby Atmos renderer. And my idea was to kind of click that sound, like that file, you click it and then you start reading. So you're kind of immersed in the article.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So from that on, a friend, he introduced me to The Face, like the Matthew from The Face. And we had a really quick chat, but it was kind of, he was interested, but it was more kind of like, how do I continue that idea now? And because we left it off with, why don't you just come back with a new idea? Where, for example, Dolby Atmos and some sponsors would be involved in. I just started to think of an idea. And that's kind of when we started to share that idea, like I started to share the idea with you. And from then on,
Well, let me ask you, like the idea kind of really started to form around the William Basinski interview, right?
Yeah.
Because you set, like for me, that's where I really understood what you were trying to do, because you should tell me again, but it was that you would set the stage in New York on the day of September 11, and we heard all of that coming through the radio and stuff.
Yeah, I remember.
Can you remember that?
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic.
I think that was interesting. So William Basinski is an ambient, he's one of the biggest representatives of ambient music with his disintegration loops. And it's an amazing piece of music. And he's also a really interesting person, to be honest. And he was, when the Twin Towers fell due to the 9/11 attacks, he recorded the fall of the Twin Towers. He was videotaping the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it took hours and hours and hours until they actually kind of collapsed.
Yeah.
And then what he was doing was like he had these tapes, and they were he ran those tapes along the video recording, and because they were tapes, they started to disintegrate.
They started to stretch and deteriorate.
It deteriorates. So that's why they're called the disintegration loop, because they were looping and looping and looping every time. They sounded different because the tapes were disintegrating.
Yeah.
And that's what made him, I think, really famous.
And it was at the same time he was recording, he became really famous around that as well, right?
Yeah.
Where he was recording the falling of those two towers, Twin Towers, came down that morning. And the thing about the sound articles that you did that I loved so much was that you had created, you had an interview with him, but you set the whole interview by setting the stage with sound and creating that morning in New York with the radio on and hearing that the Twin Towers had been hit, and you were kind of following him audio-wise and telling a story up until you got the chance to ask him questions and stuff. And it was amazing because I felt like I was in the room with him that morning.
That a plane has crashed into the World Trade Center. We don't know anything more than that. We don't know if it was a commercial aircraft. We don't know if it was a private aircraft. We have no idea how many were on board or what the extent of the injuries are right now. We have, I understand, an eyewitness on the phone right now. Sir, good morning. This is Brian Gumble. Could you give us your name?
Yeah, my name's Stuart.
Stuart, where are you right now?
I'm working at a restaurant in Soho.
All right, so tell us what you saw, if you would.
I was waiting at table and I literally saw it seemed to be like a small plane. I just heard a couple noises. It looked like it bounced off the building, and then I just saw a huge ball of fire on top, and then the smoke seemed to simmer down, and it just, a lot of smoke was coming out, and that's pretty much the extent of what I saw.
Can you tell us about the scene down there right now?
Yeah.
And then you were talking to him.
Yeah, exactly. So, but the point was that the interview was written, and I wanted, like, my idea always was that you first play the audio, and then you let the audio play, because it kind of fades into into these disintegration loops that you would play while reading the article, because it's these two separate pieces.
Right.
So it was never a podcast or an audio recording. And yeah, that was the first idea that I had, because the thing also with those sound articles is that was my thesis in university, to write something like that, like write a story. And then I learned that you have to do a lot of acting. So, for example, the way, like, walking around the apartment was basically me in a house walking around.
The New York, pretending to be in his
pretending
apartment.
to be in his apartment, yeah, was basically me recording myself in a kitchen and pretending to be in a kitchen and to walk around, because that's how you capture, like, that's I think it's the best way to capture the audio as real as possible without...
You kind of played it out.
You played it out, exactly. Instead, like, yeah, you play it out. So yeah, that's how...
Did you get into the recording of him in that, or it was still just it was a written article?
It was a written article.
It was a written article.
We never made a...
Never quite got
No, we
the
never...
recording part of it.
No, we never made that. That was never the plan of it. The plan was always just to create the situation and then leave on the music or the ambience while you were reading.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's right. So the loops, the William Basinski loops would be playing by the time that you're reading the depth of the article and stuff.
Yeah, so it was kind of a multimedia thing.
Yeah, super cool.
And then, yeah, we went to Berlin, and I'm obsessed. You don't remember?
Yeah, taking the idea further.
Exactly.
More sound articles. Yeah, the next artist, that's right.
So because the plan was to pitch with 3 different artists.
Yeah.
And we went to Berlin, and I'm obsessed with this artist called Black N.
Pretty keen to.
Super obsessive with, like, that's exactly my style. I love it. And then we went to Berlin Atonal, where he was performing. Yeah. And I snuck in those 3D binaural headphones.
Yeah.
I mean, they were clipping as hell. Like, it was crazy to use. Like, it's not possible to use that. Maybe it is, but at the end of the day, it's like that performance just blew my mind. It was so good. Like you were listening to the music on the right side, but then he appeared on the left side, and it was just it just blew my mind absolutely. Just to shout out to Black N, it's freaking amazing, your stuff. But yeah, so we collected these like few things, and then we started to write the story of Sophie Sound, actually. So it kind of
developed from that, because you were going to write the Black Ann one, and I think you had a scenario for that as well, and then you kind of kept moving further and further with bigger, more ideas that developed into Sophie Sound, right?
It was us actually in London, and then we started to develop these ideas along my personality, you know, where it's kind of like I was so inquisitive and I never have enough, and I'm super restless. I need to know everything. And that's how we built that character in a way together, because it was like, it became this proper storytelling through a character.
Yeah, we were kind of writing out scenarios and stories and what could happen.
Oh, the sound tunnel and things like that.
Yeah, and it kind of got Alice in Wonderland.
And that's something very artistic that I like about Sophie Sound a lot, and why I also created it mainly and went with that idea is because I needed a second persona and an alter ego where I can project my own journey and sometimes my failures, and like that journey that you're going through, I needed to place that somewhere in art, I think. Yeah. And that's my art piece that gives me a platform to deal with and to write out and to think out situations that I'm in.
Yeah, so you get to, in your own kind of way, you're developing all of the things that you like to develop creatively and artistically by tracking Sophie sound through the things that you're actually doing,
Exactly.
like day by day and stuff like that.
Yeah, and then like through that, coming out each episode with a new question or with a new resolution of a problem or with a new understanding of where I am at. So yeah, the first episode is basically like me in the real world and me in that story kind of figuring out, how do I get into the sound world? How do I enter? How do I become part of that community? What do I have to do, you know? Yeah.
But you're also bringing in all of these different kind of wonderful characters,
Yeah.
like the fly on the wall,
Yeah.
the little dudes running around with their iPads, and all
Yeah.
the different characters
Yeah.
that starts to build an entire Sophie sound world.
Exactly. A world.
And it's a world of sound and kind of like discovering that type of thing.
It also just creates a lot of interesting things. For example, you know, the bouncing sound in the second episode. That's something that we learned when, we went in London. We went to this tour in the opera where you can walk through the costume department. And then you also go into the opera. And then she was explaining that because there were no sound system back in the days when they started operas, they had those domes. And those domes were mainly there in order to bounce the sound
Yeah,
off.
that's right.
Yeah, and it's
Which is like the New York.
exactly in New York
Union Station,
in the
right?
Union Station, you have the same phenomena.
Yeah.
Phenomenon.
Yeah, totally.
Phenomena.
And the sound kind of travels along that arch.
Yeah.
Almost like you're hearing it directly. Two people are standing
In one corner.
20 to 30 meters away. Someone whispers into the little part of the arch, and the sound travels over the arch
Because of the
into the ear of
dome.
the other person. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And kind of utilizing those ideas
And
and
then
building your world around that.
Exactly. So I took that idea to make the glass, the window, kind of convex.
Yeah.
And then bounce the sound off, and she can't localize it. Yeah, so these are the ideas that just I can build into that world and make it sound interesting. And then, now I'm in Never Stop, Never Stopping, and I had this talk with Jaime Sainz,
Yeah.
who is an old colleague, but who also is like working in sound, like in post production, and did really great works on things like Bardo and Amores Perros
Yeah.
and Nomadland and now I have an interview lined up with Nina Hartstone.
Yeah.
So-
totally. And that's all with the Never Stop, Never Stopping world.
Yeah.
We might get the chance to talk to some of those people on this as well, right?
Oh yeah, that would be great. But it's always
Jaime and others that we've got lined up, hopefully, to have a chat with us on the sound side of storytelling and all that, which would be kind of cool. And what about Nina? You've got that interview coming up soon.
Yeah. Yes, I think it's going to be released even before this podcast. So Nina Hartstone, she won the Oscar for the David Bowie documentary. Oopsie, she didn't win the Oscar for the David Bowie documentary, but for the Bohemian Rhapsody film. And she specialized in ADR and also became a supervising sound editor. And because she's working in music so much, or like she also did the Freddie Mercury, is that biopic? Is that how you call it? Like Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah, totally.
And she did Saltburn and as a supervising sound editor.
Amazing. That's super cool.
So
super cool.
now I'm in Never Stop, Never Stopping, and it's gonna continue with like people that I admire and that I really love to talk to in this creative way, because it's also, I don't know if I'm supposed to say that, but to be honest, like I also create those ideas because usually the way you learn about sound to me is very technical and very plain. You know, it's a very structural,
the technical side of all of that stuff.
Yeah,
Production
and
can be pretty
straightforward. It's figured out, it's straightforward, and oftentimes I just want to know more about the people behind it and not just about the movie or,
nice.
you know, and I want to know more about creativity and, actually who these people are.
And how they think about stuff.
Yes, totally, because it is art. In my eyes, it is art, but it's often very difficult to see the art behind it, really. Because when you're a sound person as well, it's kind of like, oh, nice, that's a trick that I can use myself next time. Or, oh, yeah, it's cool that you just put the microphone in your mouth and then you made kind of like gurgly sounds or whatever. And it's like,
Cool to talk to people in the same world and how they come up with it and how their version. I think there's probably just 100 different ways of coming up with similar types of things, right?
yeah.
And everybody's got different kind of avenues and paths to go down, and some are, kind of inspiring, and then some, you find more inspiring versions of that the more you chat with people, and then you start carving your own versions of how you go about stuff as well, right?
Yeah, which I think is really important.
I remember when you were first telling me about the sound articles and stuff, and it took me a while to understand exactly what you were talking about, because it's so abstract, right? When you're just talking about it, it's really abstract. It totally makes sense when you hear it and you see it. And do you remember there was this kind of, when I started to really understand what you were doing with this idea, you did that art installation here in Mexico, and we shot you doing some of the story and creating all of that kind of stuff. And that was like an amazing kind of realization of the whole Sophie Sound world and things. Do you want to just say something about that? Because that was a really good, that's a really good example of what this whole idea is all about.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, it's a bit abstract when you're talking about
When
it.
I'm talking
when
about
you
it.
read it and when you get it, it totally makes sense.
Yeah, it is a really big task, to be honest, to bring Sophie Sound, to bring the script into an audio piece. And that is something for the future, but because you have to act. So you need actors. What I've learned in those art exhibitions. So in the first one, someone told me, or the guy that invited me to that art installation was like, you can do anything you like. It can be as long as you like, which is sometimes a bit too much to say because, I came up with this idea of doing a video and then we shot.
Well, you came up with an idea of doing 2 hours of footage that you were going to do sound to.
Yeah.
Then we cut it down, but the story was told really nicely. I think you should put some of this.
Yeah.
Put some of that on this episode as well.
I will.
That's super cool, that stuff.
If you want to watch the Sophie Sound piece, I have added a link in the description of this podcast where you can watch episode 3 of that whole short film. And on the flyer, there is going to be a QR code that you can scan and watch directly on your phone or on the computer. Yeah, so it was basically storytelling, which is the first episode. It's kind of like going through a kitchen, sonically through a kitchen, into deeper and deeper into Never Stop, Never Stopping in small episodes, like in small acts. So you have like 3 acts. That explain creativity and what creativity is. So you go from the real world and it ends with me just playing like a little kid in the grass.
Yeah, you got a really cool story.
Yeah, so because for me, the idea of when you really connect with your artist, that's you connect with your inner child. It's like when you start playing very free without any fear, and it's difficult to get there. And I think that's the whole point of that. That was the whole story of Sophie Sound, who she is. And it's kind of what she's trying to accomplish over and over again. It's kind of like entering that state of pure freedom. Which I think is extremely difficult to get to, and you need to be very patient. But you also need. I
think you got there in that show
of yourself.
Totally, and you got there in that show, in that installation. And do you remember before it, you were really nervous?
Oh, it was.
I had to talk you back into it. You were so ready to not go and not do it.
Oh my God! It's just. So I don't know why I have this, but I just want to run away. I just want to run as fast as I can and as far as I can. And yeah.
But then it was pretty rewarding, right?
Yeah, it was nice.
When you're getting all of that kind of reaction afterwards.
Yeah.
And you got a huge reaction from someone in particular.
Yeah, there was this girl, and she came up to me and she was so inspired by it because what to me means a lot a lot. But a lot. No, what means a lot to me is when people get what I'm trying to say. When my storytelling in an artistic format or in arts, when it comes across, you know, when it's clear for people what I'm saying, what the meaning is in that piece of art.
Yeah.
And she got it in a way where she was so inspired by it that she came up to me and was like, this is exactly what I was thinking, but I was having difficulties to articulate. And that short film really just explains exactly what I'm looking for right now. And then later, she literally came back to Mexico City.
From London.
And told me that it inspired her so much that she wants to come to Mexico City now. And in her mind, she wants to do art. She wants to do an art piece. And if I would have any suggestions and
that's crazy rewarding.
If I can help her.
That's like the biggest compliment you could get.
Yeah.
Right? That's cool. That's amazing. I love it. Let us stop. Can you bang? Boom.
Boom. It's a wrap.
Ping, ping. Piddly-pip-pum.
It's a wrap. I wasn't recording. We weren't recording.
Are you serious?
No, I'm joking. All right. Thanks, Peter Candeland. Thank you. Thank you for hosting today's show.
Pleasure. Pleasure was all mine. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, click.
Thank you for guesting. Thank you for guesting today on the episode.
Yeah.
My pleasure hosting. Thank you for guesting. Thanks for listening. More episodes are in your podcast app or our feed. For more information and updates on guests, episodes, and behind the scenes, follow us on Instagram and TikTok. And if you have any comments, feedback, or ideas, send us an email at neverstopcandybang@gmail.com.